In this episode of Table to TV podcast, Justin and special guest Carl Cutler talk about the Elder Scrolls. Welcome to the Table to TV podcast, a show where me and usually my daughter talk about gaming. This is not my daughter. Hello, not my daughter.
I tried to be your daughter, but apparently there was like some legal issues.
So, on this podcast, we talk all things gaming, board games, video games, modern and retro. And today, I have a special guest.
I'm special.
Special with like every other letter is capitalized.
And rainbow colored. So like, you know, it's colorful. It keeps changing colors. It's fantastic.
I have my good friend from my childhood, Carl Cutler, Isekarl on TikTok.
Yeah.
And we are going to discuss the Elder Scrolls today, specifically Skyrim, but we'll dabble with Oblivion and probably Elder Scrolls Online.
We could talk about Elder Scrolls in general.
The very, very little bit of Morrowind. Like, I've played so little Morrowind, I may as well have not played Morrowind.
I didn't really play Morrowind, but I actually know a handful of things about Morrowind.
Oh, so before we get into that, do you want to tell the listeners about your TikTok?
About my TikTok. I mean, like, it's like the most... It is the most basic and complicated thing you'll ever find on TikTok, I like to think, because like it's got the basic premise of like just geek stuff in general, but I just like so much geek stuff that it's constantly a different thing that I end up messing with. But like, you know, I mean, like, if you like anime, I'll probably be talking about it. If you like comic books, superhero stuff, I'll probably be talking about it. If you like, I don't know, video games in any capacity, I'll probably be talking about it at some point. And then, like, I also tried to do the voice acting stuff just because I have fun with it.
Yeah, I see most of that stuff on mine for some reason.
Because that's the good shit.
Well, like, TikTok is weird because they don't necessarily show you everything that a creator does. They show you other types of videos that you've watched before. So at some point in my life, I've watched other voice acting videos.
Yeah,
at some point.
And then like the worst part about it is like you like after you watch a video, you want to comment on it. You do, and then you're about to, and then you realize that video was put up last year. Because, like, there's no, like, full-blown, like, it's not as immediate as, like, oh, they just did this, and then it's immediately sent to, like, you through, like, through its, like, For You system. It works better when you're following them, but sometimes you'll just get really old stuff that they talked about last month, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, it trips me up still because I have two TikToks. I have one for this podcast, and then I have one for my music. And when I'm on one, I'll get showed videos for the other, and it trips me out.
That's what happens when you follow yourself.
Yeah. So, we're going to get into this discussion of Elder Scrolls. We're going to glide into this real smooth, like we're going to test the very depths of our brains and souls, which this was probably only like, I don't know, 15 or 16 years ago, so hopefully we remember some of this.
I have just as much knowledge as I did before. Like I said, approximate knowledge of everything. Like, it's like one of those things you're like, don't quote me ever on anything ever. But like,
all right, so we grew up together for the most part, and so our experiences with this franchise are probably going to be fairly similar. Do you remember how you were introduced to Elder Scrolls as a whole?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like one of my favorite memories. So I was just hanging out at our mutual friend Smocks, right? I was just hanging out there, and you know how like literally everyone in town has been over to his house at least once.
Yeah.
So one of the people,
It was like town hall almost.
yeah, right. Like one of the people was there, I think for a couple of days. He had a PlayStation 3, which is saying something back then because like that was
That's a flex.
yeah. So like back then you had the Xbox 360 that, like, if you ask me, released properly, even though it had its red ring of death,
Yeah.
right? And then you had PlayStation 3 that released a little bit more negatively because like it came out a year later and like $100 more.
Yeah. It was because it was too ahead of its time. They decided that they were like, "Hey, we're just going to make our shit Blu-ray." Nobody was using Blu-ray at the time.
But it was like, it wasn't a bad idea. It was not a bad
No,
call
it wasn't
at all.
it wasn't a bad idea.
It was just like no one was ready for it.
Yeah, they were just following the same model they did for PS2. They're like, okay, well, we got this video game system where it's also a DVD player.
Yeah, and then you had the PlayStation 1, which was like kind of them like being the first one to drop disc.
Yeah.
So like
they're like, hey, this could play video games and CDs.
Yeah, so like, they've kind of been doing that. Sony just been playing that game. But yeah, so I was hanging out, and he happened to have the game, which was Oblivion.
Okay.
And I remember, I think I made a Breton. Because it mentioned something about magic or something.
Yeah, Bretons are inherently magical.
I don't remember all the information that was like really provided and the character creation of Oblivion though.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I made a Breton, and like I didn't know how to play. I didn't understand what I was doing. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And if you ask me, when it tosses you, it kind of tosses you into the thick of it when you think about it, because you don't know what you're doing. And then as soon as you leave, you're dealing with assassins.
Right.
As soon as you leave that dungeon, you'll end up making your way across the landscape and then eventually end up at Kvatch.
Yeah.
Which everything is on fire. And then you go into literally a gate to hell. And that is how you are introduced to this game. And it is absolutely fantastic. But I remember not being able to do anything. I wasn't able to do anything to any of the Daedra. Not a thing. I was wearing cloth, so I didn't even have armor. But my weapon breaks as I'm barely doing damage. My weapon broke, and I proceed to actually beat the shit out of the gate by punching it. Like, for some reason, my damage was so much better without that dagger that I had that broke. And yeah, it's absolutely one of my favorite memories because of the fact that like that was just how I was introduced to all of it.
Yeah, my first experience was similar, except I remember who you were talking about. I don't think I ever met that guy, but I knew of him. I think his name was Niles.
Yes, Niles.
I also played it for the first time at Smock's house, but he had a 360 at that point, and he had Oblivion on the 360.
Okay, yeah.
And I made a dark elf because, yeah,
D&D. Yes, no. Yeah. It's like there are only two races that you make, and both of them are dark elves. So like it doesn't even matter.
And I do the whole assassination thing, and I get through the sewers, and I didn't realize that Jonathan had never lowered the difficulty. like it was default set to like 50%.
Okay.
So me not really knowing what I'm doing, I barely get past the fucking rat.
Yeah.
And everybody. I go out and I turn to the fucking left, go wandering down the riverside a little bit because I was like, I'm not going to that red arrow right now. There's stuff over there.
Yeah. Adventure.
And there was a mud crab. And it killed me. Then I finally make my way to the Imperial City, and the NPCs are talking about mud crabs and how horrible they are. So then ensues a 15, 16-year-long joke of how deadly mud crabs are
Yeah.
within our friend group.
Yep. Yeah. But that's just Elder Scrolls in general though. Like it's like every single I mean like yeah, sure we didn't really touch Morrowind, but I about guarantee you we would have been on like whatever memes of the game. But like the Elder Scrolls is just so memeable. Especially like when you're dealing with that, then you deal with the guards and like, you know, arrows in the knees and stolen sweet rolls and stuff. Like it's just so hard not to just like fall into the meme and then fall into your own meme as you just play it with everyone, right?
Right. So since we're on the topic of Oblivion, what was like the high point of that game for you? Or did you even beat it?
Okay.
Because
I beat Oblivion. I beat Oblivion. Thank you.
Because Carl's notoriously never beaten Skyrim.
I procrastinate like the greats. So yeah, every single iteration I always like fall in love with the Dark Brother.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite too.
Every single time I always fall in love with the Dark Brotherhood. It started with Oblivion. I still love them in Skyrim, and then this is super derail. I'm giving you a highlight in a completely different game, but my biggest highlight in ESO is I got a Dark Brotherhood sanctuary as a player home.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
That only like releases like every 2 years or something. I didn't think I'd be able to get it because of the fact it has a very small window in which you can purchase it. So like whenever I play ESO, I hang out in my Dark Brotherhood sanctuary. But I mean, oh my god, like Dark Brotherhood, Shivering Isles.
Oh god, Shivering Isles.
Jesus.
Oblivion was so fucking good just all around.
So good. So freaking good. Okay, so this is a highlight thing. This is like a that big moment.
Because like I feel like Oblivion had the biggest plot twist for the Dark Brotherhood. With
that was yeah, it was fantastic, and if you were paying attention, you would have seen it too. So like yeah, so like it's when it came to the Dark Brotherhood, you had like you were getting stuff from Lucy and LeChance at the time.
yes,
right? Because you already like decimated the sanctuary because of the threat of a mole.
right.
Once it got that taken care of, you were just doing like Black Hand stuff. I think it's 2 missions in, and then all of a sudden the icon for the notes that you are receiving changes.
Oh.
And that is when the actual mole was feeding you all of those Black Hand
okay.
stuff.
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that the symbol changed.
Yep. Yeah. If you ever get bored and just want to look at it again, yeah, no, it's great.
I might have to do that because like Bethesda has all their games on Game Pass now, so I could just load up Oblivion like right now.
Yeah, this is fantastic, right? Yeah, I bought the anthology a ways back on my on Steam. Because it was like $20 for everything.
Yeah, I remember you had the collection, the discs in the book, and then like you had a download code for Skyrim.
Yeah,
I don't think it had a disc.
it was Skyrim was weird because like it it told you to go to Steam. And then it didn't even matter anyway because then another Skyrim came out, and then it just updated your previous like purchase of Skyrim.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about Skyrim releases here in a little bit. Because that is a whole other subject. So for me, I would say the highlight of Oblivion was
Okay,
the
I just thought of mine.
um probably the portrayal of Lucy and LeChance where they
So good. I mean, so bad, but
yeah
so
bad
good.
it's so good so good. I hate it. But okay, so you do that,
Mhm.
you're sad and shit,
Mhm.
and then you do Dark Brotherhood and Skyrim, and
Mhm.
you get him as a summon.
You get him as a summon.
And that just kind of brings it back full circle. And then to top it all off,
Yep.
you think you got this badass summon. He's annoying as fuck.
He's annoying as fuck, and you can make it worse. Okay, so what you gotta do is you gotta get that summon, and then you gotta make the decision to keep Cicero alive.
Right.
You keep him alive. Then you make him your follower. Then, and only then, do you go to, God, I can't remember what town it was, but the Clavicus Vial stuff.
Okay.
You deal with the dog. You do not do his quest, but you have him follow you.
Oh.
Every 3 seconds, no one shuts up. I am not joking. It was the greatest and worst decision of my life. I just really wanted to see what would happen.
And then so like that's my like favorite for Elder Scrolls overall, but like Oblivion specifically,
Yeah.
the Gray Fox stuff.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Because
All right.
like you see, if you go into that castle, you see this guy there, and he's just always there, and he's like kind of creepy almost, and then like it turns out he's the goddamn Gray Fox, and his mind's all fucked up because the mask fucks you up.
Yep.
You go through and you get all these special items, so you could go up into the White Gold Tower and steal the Elder Scroll, which was the shit.
Yes.
And then,
That just meant so much because, like, I mean, it's the title of the game. It's got to be important, right?
Right. And then, like, that's the only time you get to explore the upper levels of the White Gold Tower.
That too.
And you go through and you steal these special boots, but then I didn't need them because I jumped in a corner and inside the cave in the tutorial, so I was able to survive the fall without the boots.
and like jump across to water and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You were Naruto Jesus. It was fantastic.
But I would say that a really close second is the Shivering Isle stuff because Sheogorath is gold.
You know what? All of it fantastic. One of my favorite points in the Shivering Isles was that dungeon where you were the dungeon master, if
Right,
you will.
where you were leading those guys through. And
You made choices on what trap would activate. I just loved the shit out of that. It was so much fun. I don't know why I liked it so much, but I liked it a lot. But to go on the question, a personal highlight. I can't believe I spaced this. I talk about this whenever I get the chance. My hobo character. God damn, I love him so much. So I wanted to make just a hobo.
Right.
I was like, so I eventually I made him. He just wears rags. And then like, I think I got up just enough gold just to buy the crappiest place in like the game, that shack outside of the Imperial City. Right. So there was other things that I wanted to do with him. One, I had him like drink a lot of skooma, right? So,
All right.
like, drugs.
Fast as fuck, boy.
Fast, right? When I did that, I had came across like 2 things that I needed to achieve in my life. The first one was, so like, you remember the Knights of the Nine stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
The boots allow you to befriend any animal.
Right.
I mounted the unicorn.
Oh, nice.
So I had the unicorn as my horse. So you got this guy in rags and then the fanciest of boots. I then proceed to have one more challenge that I need to accomplish with this specific character because of how skooma worked in the game. I also proceeded to like work on my athletics athletics specifically. I needed to beat Mike the Liar in a race.
I've done that before too, actually.
So, training montage, right? Like, I worked on every possible thing I could do. I even I think made like my own potions and stuff. So even worse drugs. I was ready to race him, right? Standing right next to him. I was just waiting for that moment. Just waiting for that moment when he booked it. The minute he books it, I start downing everything, and then I run. I blow the pants off him. Oh my god. I was gone. My game crashed. It was fantastic. All in the nicest of boots. Like, that was the best part. That is my personal highlight of Oblivion.
Right. Circling back to Sheogorath, I thought it was really cool that when they brought it into Oblivion, it affected his Daedric shrine.
Yes.
So you got three possible ways to interact with that shrine. One's the normal way, and you just proceed through the quest as normal. The second way is if you do some of the Shivering Isles but don't finish it and then come to that, and he rides your ass for not doing what he's telling you to do.
Why are you there? Right? Like...
And then the third way is when you finish the Shivering Isles, you are essentially Sheogorath yourself. You go to your shrine, and it's the butler talking to you.
It's like, this is...
And he's like all nonchalant and kind of bored with it. And he's like, "Yeah, the master liked to mess with these guys, this Khajiit village, and you end up making it rain dogs on the Khajiit." that was fantastic too. So okay, so for as good as this game is, there's got to be some real down parts too. What was absolute dog shit about any of this stuff to you? Like what was your least favorite part of Elder Scrolls?
Least favorite part of Elder Scrolls?
Yeah.
If you got one, you should probably go first.
I mean, it's hard, because like the game itself is just so good. I'll probably have to go back to Oblivion because no. Bears in Skyrim.
Bears in Skyrim.
Fuck bears in Skyrim.
No, you need to know. The thing of it is, I actually liked the fact that bears were savage. I liked that they were savage because they're a fucking bear.
Yeah, but
I don't care if you got magic.
We go around and we'll fucking pop dragons out of the sky just to turn around and get mauled by a fucking bear.
Yeah, but wasn't it one of your campaigns where our entire party got wiped out by a bear?
Yes.
So
bears were annoying in Skyrim. That probably is my least favorite part as far as like maybe gameplay. I'm sorry, I just don't buy that we're popping dragons out of the sky just to turn around and be mauled to death by a bear.
You just gotta put respect on a bear's name. That's all I'm thinking.
Frost trolls are just as challenging, though.
Yeah, but at least they have like that weakness of fire.
Yeah, that's true.
They got like a more vulnerability to, so like you could just down them if you just decide to go about it that route. That also, I mean, you are if you delved more into like focusing on like being the Dragonborn and stuff like that, you should have by the time you actually deal with like, I mean, like sometimes bears pop up just wherever, but like it would not, like, it doesn't take too long to actually rack up like shouts is the point I'm making. And one of the shouts is to say, don't be a bitch to animals. Like you're telling animals to stop being a bitch, right? So like that's a good way to avoid it. But yeah, ultimately, like, yeah, no, it's still tough to take out a bear.
I I do like though that after the whole intro, you're running away from Alduin and you escape through the caves. The first thing that you see right before you leave the cave is a sleeping bear.
Yeah,
And you're like,
that you could just end.
yeah, you could just either end it by sneaking up and doing a sneak attack, but like sneak attack archers all the way.
Yeah, it's like it's hard not to.
But like the NPC is like, we better just like not.
Yeah. It's like it's a bear. You see that? Wow!
It's a bear in a cave. Why?
Who'd have thought? All of Skyrim is the hibernating season. For me, I think it's not so much like a general thing that like I like. This is the number one thing that I hate. I think it's more of like, I wish this game had, like, at the time of playing the game, I wish this game had this additional thing. Like, when it came to Skyrim specifically, I wish it had a tree for stabs.
Yeah.
I would have liked to play.
Something I didn't like about Skyrim specifically is that it did away with the spell crafting that Oblivion had. And the spell crafting in Oblivion was the best.
Yeah, that being said, that was also like one of those things to where it like kind of just felt like it allowed. I mean, like that was the intention. I was going to use the turn of phrase, it allowed you to get away with murder, and that is the intention. But like, it. I mean, like you were able to utilize it for literally everything and anything, but it was fun. And you don't really get anything until like the fucking what is it, the Dragonborn DLC, where you go to Solstice and then you can mess with stabs.
Yeah.
And then even then, there's no staff tree, so like.
Yeah, that was Magic and Skyrim in general was wonky. I'm glad they fixed it. That was one of the things that they did for the whatever it was, the most recent re-release. I think it was called the Legendary Edition. I think it was what it was called.
The Legendary Anniversary Anthology Edition.
Yeah, something. The most recent one. They tweaked the spell casting a little bit and made it a little better because it wasn't good. It was flashy, it was pretty, but it wasn't good.
See, like for me, like my biggest thing with like spellcraft, like when it came to like spells in general, I hated going with like the mainstream aspect of like destruction and like you want to do actually any of them are fine because like I don't think destruction was so much the issue I had. I just hated that it was just really the Trinity. Like you had ice, fire, lightning. Like,
right.
You could cause destruction with other kinds of like elements. So like I think that could have been like a cool way to go about it as well, as to add more of a variety to something like that. I liked the concept of illusion, but I feel like it was also like kind of, I don't know if like gate locked is like the right word. It just kind of felt like you were doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Which kind of spellcrafting.
I don't believe I've ever used illusion ever.
I find it fun in terms of like concept, but like it was missing something for me.
Unless you count the dragon shout where it turns you ethereal as illusion. I don't count
that. No, that's alteration.
Yeah. Oh, that's alteration.
I would count that as alteration because what that does is it literally changes the reality of your body.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I'd classify that as. But like I like to mess with illusion and conjuring because like, pets and like I just like the idea of fucking with people. Like using it as a superpower is just an additional thing. But to be honest, you know what like I'd really want from a game in general? I would like to play a game where I don't have to specialize in combat in any kind of sense. To where I can just be a guy.
You could just be a guy.
And I like like
you
especially
just
like
bullshit your way through life.
Exactly. Like I think it would be, because like to me, like if I could play a game like an MMO, even like like Final Fantasy or anything, if I could play like a game like that to where I might not necessarily be able to beat you in a fight, but like through bullshittery, I can make it to where you're not able to fight me. I like that idea. Like, it just sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's like, okay, basically it's like, hey, I'm not going to beat you in a fight, but you're not going to beat me either, and here is why. And you just logic your way out of just being in a fight in general.
It'd be fantastic. It'd be absolutely fantastic. That was actually why I was getting more into D&D, but a lot of people like to play combat-related stuff, and like it's hard to figure out the role of a non-combat character in combat situations.
Right. There's way too much combat in D&D. But that's another episode.
Wait, I'm game for it.
Yeah, like there's I'm gonna me and Xavier are gonna do a Dungeons and Dragons episode in the future. I don't know when. She's saying she wants to do it when we finish Curse of Strahd, but like the poor girl just doesn't understand. You don't finish Dungeons and Dragons.
It's never over.
It's never over.
Really over.
Oh man, so let's talk about Skyrim releases.
All right. The day was
November 11th, 2011.
11/11/11. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yes, that was we were, oh my God, just so much hype. So much hype. And the best part was you had this awesome gameplay trailer scene that you never got to live through. Like, you never got to actually do it. But, like, it was pretty cool. Like, just all of it.
Because we both got, I remember,
like, everyone
we had,
got it.
we had it pre-ordered. We went and got it day one, and I'll never forget it because we drove to GameStop in Muncie, and your mom's Honda, I don't remember
the lunchbox.
Yeah, the lunchbox basically. There was no back seats.
Nope, because that's
so
what
I was
did.
laying on the floor of the back of this Honda, and we had the game pre-ordered, so we got a special map.
Yes, it was it like vinyl?
Yeah,
or like. It said cloth, but that wasn't a cloth.
No.
It was like... Yeah,
like, at first I felt like we got lied to, but at the same time it was still, like, really good quality. It felt like... It wasn't like the like plastic feeling, like what the posters you buy at Walmart. It didn't feel like that. It felt like real thick stock, and, like, it was tanned and everything, and the artwork was pretty, so I wasn't overly mad about that. But I got it on Xbox. You got it on PlayStation, I believe. Because you had a PS3.
Hopefully, by then, maybe, probably. It was probably PlayStation 3. Because, like, I do remember for a period, I had an Xbox, which is what I played Oblivion on.
Right.
For a little bit, and then my Xbox kaputted, and then I got a PlayStation 3 shortly after that.
Yeah, I'm almost 100% certain.
I probably did, because that was probably when I was building up that roster of games.
Yeah, because I remember... Because we were also playing Dragon Age Origins at the same time, and you were on PlayStation and I was on Xbox.
Oh my God. We could talk about that too.
Yeah, we can talk about that on another episode.
Like
the episodes where the content of the games are a little too much for Xavier. Like, you know, I got episodes. Me and Xavier, we'll talk about like Nintendo stuff, and we'll talk about Pokemon.
I'll
eventually.
talk about again. I will talk about Pokemon,
but like
till I come blue in the face.
I can't have a conversation with Xavier about fucking Dragon Age,
especially all the mods for Dragon Age. Oh my God, oh my God! Like I was talked at. They came to me and talked at me about all of the explicit mods for Dragon Age Origins. We were not on the topic of this, but they wanted me to know about these mods.
So yeah, we had Skyrim on day one, and I think we played it pretty religiously for like 6 years straight. We very seldom dabbled into other games.
Yeah.
And
So many characters. So many characters.
then we got then they started re-releasing it. we got the Game of the Year edition, which we knew we were going to get because Oblivion had one where it had all the DLC. But before I continue, I want to talk about Oblivion real quick.
Yep.
And then we'll get back on Skyrim. But why in the hell did Xbox have more DLC for Oblivion than PS3 did?
Because Microsoft and Bethesda have always had. That's why eventually it led to.
Because like I remember you had you were playing it on PS3 and you had the Shivering Isles and the Knights of the Nine.
Yeah.
But that's all you had.
Yeah, the other DLC was like kind of just like Microsoft related.
Yeah, like they were essentially.
I mean,
mods.
it also came with like I think PC also got it, but again, Microsoft related, right? So like,
right.
Yeah, there was the castle, there was the
Wizard's Tower,
and then the
horse armor.
That might have gotten horse armor, but there was the vampire thing with the Sithis temple.
Oh, I am drawing a blank on that one.
Yeah, so like this guy thought that the way the Dark Brotherhood was doing things with the Night Mother, he didn't believe in the Night Mother.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. I remember now.
He specifically believed
there was a shrine to Sithis.
Oh my god, it looks so good.
Yeah.
But not as good. Like, I mean, it looks good. Don't get me wrong. It looks fucking fire. But I got a shrine to Sithis in my Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary on ESO, which its design is to be its flavor text was that like it was made by like Argonian architects. So like you got like the skeleton body and then he's got like 6 arms. Oh my god, it just looks so good. Like
But anyway, we get the Skyrim Game of the Year edition. We bought the DLCs as they came out, so we didn't fuck with that version.
Yeah, no.
And then what came next? I believe they released it for PS4, and that simultaneously
the special edition.
Yeah, the special edition.
The special edition. Yep. Says came for like the newer generation consoles to just kind of like fluff it, and then later the Legendary Edition, and then the Anniversary Edition, and then the freaking Nintendo Edition, and then the VR.
Yeah, and I had it for VR, but yeah. So we got that, and then like you said, we got it for Nintendo Switch, and then we got it for PSVR, then we got it for fucking PlayStation 4 again.
Okay,
and then like, but if you already had it before, you just got an upgrade,
which is kind of nice because then you don't have to like buy it.
Yeah, like
because. Knowing me against my better judgment, I would one day. Like, it was one of those things.
And then it just becomes a joke about Skyrim releases.
But my issue with the Switch version, which I didn't think would actually bother me, but it was the same reason that I got bothered with Assassin's Creed 1. There's no achievement system.
Right.
So, like... I need that. Okay, so it just like gives you that sense of satisfaction. Like, okay, I did in fact do the thing that I set out to do. So like when it came to Assassin's Creed, like there was like flags you could collect is a good example. They're a pain in the ass to find. It's better to just use a map online, right? So you collect them all. On Xbox, you'd get an achievement.
Right.
On PlayStation, it was like, what the fuck's an achievement? And then they started trophies.
Right.
But like, it didn't integrate the trophy system, so like, whatever. But yeah, when it comes to Switch, it doesn't have that. So like, there's that one trophy or achievement where you collect all of the correct Daedric items, and like. That achievement's my jam because like I love collecting the Daedric items.
Yeah, and collecting the Daedric items in Oblivion is even more so rewarding because you have to not do some of the main quest because if you want to have all the Daedric artifacts, you need to not give Martin his. And it.
Oh yeah, eventually, yeah, you would lose. You would
need,
lose it, yeah.
And you need all of those so you could get the one from Moloch Ball, I believe.
No, Hermaeus Mora.
But Hermaeus Mora.
Yep, he's always the last one.
Yeah,
if you ask, Hermaeus Mora is my favorite one anyway. Like outside, of course, Gorath, sorry, but like, I mean, but that's also like, you know what, like worshiping yourself,
right?
So like,
yeah.
It's like, which okay, so like actually, here's like a little like theory, so like, I'm thinking they have it in a unique way, to where the character is capable of like living forever, like even in like the timeline, like according to everything and stuff like that. So like when it comes to like Oblivion, you could just assume that every single time you see Sheogorath, it's technically the guy, if you go about it in that aspect. You ever see those like builds on like online for like Skyrim of like different ways to make your character and stuff?
Yeah.
Like one of them will almost always be making the trailer Dragonborn.
Right.
Well, one thing that a lot of people forget is that like, so you see all the stuff that he's wearing, right? So he's not really wearing the best of gear,
right?
But he's clearly going to be delving in his shouts and stuff like that, because you at least see him do that. He's probably not going to be delving in magic. You don't really see him with a bow, but it wouldn't be weird if he doesn't have a bow. Actually, I think he has a bow in like one scene, maybe. But when it came to the Dawnguard trailer, you actually watch him reveal that he's a vampire. Which seems weird when you think about it, because it never really seemed like his style from what you saw of him before. But I mean, if you were to make him, technically you'd make him a vampire. I just thought it was an interesting thing. And then he could then live forever after that point.
Yeah.
So it probably was also like, there was probably also a similar thing to like when it came to like Morrowind. I don't know all the details, but I think the Living Tribunal are still running amok in Morrowind.
Fuck if I know, man. I played like 1% of Morrowind.
I know that one might die. I can't remember, but because like I learned about, I mean, like I knew of them of Morrowind, but I didn't really play Morrowind. But I played ESO, and I played the Morrowind DLC where you get to hang out with them more.
Right.
So like, it wouldn't surprise me if they were still kicking it. Actually, I think Vivek has to still be kicking it, or at least he did, because that rock thing that's like floating above like Morrowind is specifically floating because he's holding it up there. So
yeah, like I don't know much about Morrowind. There's a really good podcast called Lore Party, and they have an episode about Morrowind and the lore of Morrowind, and it's really good. But that's where my knowledge of it begins and ends.
I remember there's like a really weird thing regarding being a vampire in Morrowind. But then again, a lot of Morrowind had a lot of weird caveats in order to do things. Like I'm still laughing at like how you pick locks.
Yeah. Get in there.
It's like this is how my dad taught me to shank. You stab and twist. Like,
so yeah, then okay, so back to the
releases. Sorry.
The releases. It's fine. There gets to a point where there's so many releases and people keep buying them. And it just blows my mind. People keep buying them, and they keep putting it, like, how many times an article I read said that this most recent Skyrim release, which is the anniversary Nintendo Switch version.
You could play it on the go.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
I read somewhere that's the 16th release of Skyrim.
That seems valid. That seems.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Number.
Skyrim has only been out for 11 years, 11 or 12 years or something like that.
Yeah.
It came out in 2011. We're in 2022.
Yeah,
so 11 years.
Yeah.
It's had 16 releases in 11 years.
Yeah.
That's more than once a year.
I wouldn't be surprised if it released twice in a couple of years.
And then yeah, and it's just like it gets released so often. It's a meme now. It's like, okay, hear about the launch Skyrim on my Samsung refrigerator.
Okay.
And it's like, what's the guy's name? Howard.
Todd Howard.
Todd Howard. Yeah.
Yep.
He basically said it himself. It's like, we're not going to get Elder Scrolls 6 if we're still buying Skyrim. Why should they make Elder Scrolls 6 if we're still buying Skyrim?
Well, okay, so regarding Elder Scrolls 6,
which is the segue into talking about Elder Scrolls 6.
So yeah, there we go. So regarding Elder Scrolls 6, so the big problem is that they currently have another, one, we had COVID, and I think a lot of people really need to take into consideration how badly COVID impacted everything. Because yeah, sure, it was a hiccup for 3 years, but I mean, shit, there's still stuff going on in the bigger cities. I mean, we live in rural farmlandville, right? So of course it's not nearly as bad, but there are still places
lost in a cornfield.
Yeah, there are still places that still have procedures that they need to deal with because they're okay. Don't quote me on this, but 100 years ago, in New York, I think there were I think it was a couple of thousand people. Only 100 years ago. What is that? 1920s?
Yeah.
100 years ago. Today, I think you're looking at millions?
Yeah.
So
we spread like cockroaches, yeah.
So the thing is and then to have a pandemic that just whoever you high-fived within the past 2 days they probably have it. I mean, it's just, so it hit us really hard, and then the recovery for that, it's gonna be a minute. And so I think if they were already not quite there to begin with, right, seeing this impact everything and take another additional years, it doesn't surprise me personally, because I really think that this hit us harder than anything's hit us in a good long while, right?
Yeah.
But regarding Elder Scrolls 6, the unfortunate thing is that they have another big project that they keep delaying. What is it? Starfield? Is that what it's called? Okay,
I don't know. So I know that they're working on the next Fallout.
I know that they recently coming out with whatever sort of update thing, but I don't know about any. All I know is that because the reason why we could be looking at another several years with Elder Scrolls 6 is because they're trying to get this other specific game out, and then that keeps getting pushed back. So expect Elder Scrolls 6 to keep getting pushed back. But I think what the good thing, even though unfortunately I don't own an Xbox and I feel like that's going to end up being an issue down the line, I think the good thing is the fact that
you have a PC, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but I didn't specifically get it for games. I mean, it could do games, but I didn't specifically get it for that purpose. But when it came to what is it? I think it's a good thing that Microsoft bought Bethesda. I think them having Microsoft, even if it's being a sugar daddy kind of thing, I feel like it's the same thing when it came to Marvel getting bought by Disney. I feel like it was a good thing for Marvel. I think Marvel really transformed because of it. I think just having the backing is just a lot better because I mean, Bethesda's just been by itself for so long. They make these minor deals, and then they have their own specific what is it, software that they use. It's called Creation instead of using Unity or some shit like that. I think they just recently actually upgraded it, but most of their games have literally been on this one type of software. So I think the fact that they got bought is going to help releases be more possible. And like I am, after what I've seen with multiple companies, like, I don't know, it's better that it was Microsoft than like, I don't know, Blizzard.
Right. Oh my
So,
fucking god.
Or EA. Like, I think when it comes to this specifically, it makes sense why it's taking so long. I mean, shit, look at Skyrim. Look at Oblivion. Fuck. I would say look at Morrowind, but like, I mean, we both really didn't. But like, I mean, like, look at these games. These are like the only games on the market that could be re-released and like you play it and have a completely different adventure.
Right.
So like, I get it. I do. It's one of those things.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like there was only 5 or 6 years between Oblivion and Skyrim. The pandemic happens, what, like 7 or 8 years after Skyrim, something like that.
Yeah.
I just and
well, like what
NES,
year were you expecting them to work on it? Let's start with that.
I don't know. Maybe within maybe a year or two, but then again, they put out Fallout 4.
And you also got to remember the DLCs.
Right.
So shouldn't it be like after the last DLC?
I guess so.
What was the last DLC? Or it was Dragonborn, right?
It was Dawnguard.
It was Dawnguard?
I believe so.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Like
we're so good at this.
Dawnguard was like a huge expansion.
Yeah, Dawnguard was really big
because it had,
Dragonborn was like a whole freaking island.
Yeah, because Dawnguard had 2 different stories depending on the choices that you made.
That's true too.
And then like a lot of people want to blame ESO, which okay, we did get an Elder Scrolls game in between Skyrim and 6. It was ESO, and it's a good game, but that's being headed mostly by ZeniMax.
Yeah, it's entirely different. Like, it's not like the bigwigs. I mean, like, if I'm not entirely sure how like they do their like surrogate stuff. It's either ZeniMax owns Bethesda or Bethesda owns ZeniMax. I'm not entirely sure all that, but like they really just focus on ESO.
Yeah.
Like that's all that's what they're doing. It's not like the fact that ESO came out and is being worked on is the reason why Elder Scrolls 6 is taking so long.
Something else that I've noticed is that Fallout and Elder Scrolls seem to go hand in hand. What came first? Did Fallout 3 come first, or did Skyrim come first?
Fallout 3.
See, like it seems like, and maybe I'm just overthinking this, but it seems like whatever Fallout does, they just put a fantasy skin over it and call it Elder Scrolls. Because a lot of those mechanics are really identical.
That's how their system works. The thing that I was mentioning earlier. Yeah, all of their games have been made on the same thing that they made.
Right.
So like all of their things just look the same. Like it feels the same. It's got the same vibe and stuff like that. A lot of people started to really notice that with the more games that they would be peddling. That's why Elder Scrolls 6, whole new system. I mean, it's still like, it's just an upgrade. It's like a super upgrade. It's like, it's again, Unity, like how Unity went all the way to like, I think, Unreal, my bad. How Unreal went all the way to like 5.
Right.
More.
Maybe it's the other way around because, I did notice that Fallout 3 and Oblivion are more alike.
Yeah, that makes sense because they were closer to each other.
And then Skyrim came out, and then Fallout 4 came out, and they're really similar. So maybe I got it backwards, and Fallout is just building off of Elder Scrolls.
Either way, premise is the same.
Right.
It's just because that's how their thing works.
But now they're doing Fallout first. So whatever they do in the next Fallout
that's what
game.
You meant. I was like, I mean, what, the subscription program? Like, I don't really know, because like there's like what? Yeah, I get what
Fallout
you're getting.
5, I think it is. I think it's going to be called Fallout 5. I'm pretty sure it's in development now.
Well, there used to be a lot of hot potato between like Bethesda and Obsidian.
Yeah.
So like we had Fallout 3, then we had New Vegas.
I don't
and then
think
4,
they're working together anymore.
Well, they weren't really so much working together before to begin with, as it was they did different projects. It was just set in the same verse, but on different locations. Like, they pretty much had it to where, like, Bethesda was allowed to work on this part of America, and then they were allowed to work on this part of America, which I thought was kind of fun. But,
yeah. Because, like, have you played Outer Worlds?
No, but I laughed at it when I was reading it.
It's okay, but that was like purely Obsidian.
Yeah,
and it feels like Oblivion, but in space.
Probably. That doesn't surprise me all that much.
Yeah. So with the I forgot where I was going with all this. We were talking about Fallout 5 is in development. So I guess if we want to play Elder Scrolls 6 early, we just play Fallout 5 because chances are
has any trailer or anything popped out for 5? Do you know?
I don't think so, but I haven't looked into it for a while. I just know that I read an article where they said they're doing Fallout 5 before they do Elder Scrolls 6.
Interesting.
So what I was getting at is, like, these games tend to be reskins of each other.
That's fair. That's a valid point. That being said, like, unfortunately, a lot of the information that we have been getting regarding Elder Scrolls 6 has been very wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the location. So many people have been saying that it's Hammerfell, that it's starting to become like fact.
Right.
But we haven't actually been confirmed anything.
Right. You see, like, I heard Vardenfell.
A lot of it is just based off of speculation of what they see in that opening, that like 6-second video.
Right.
So like, it's like, so yeah, people have mentioned Hammerfell, people have mentioned Vardenfell, people have mentioned, I don't think it'd be Vardenfell, because Vardenfell just has like a different kind of ambient. A lot of people have been mentioning, High Rock.
Yeah.
So like, the thing of it is, we're not even guaranteed that it's even in Tamriel. It would be weird if it wasn't, but we're not even guaranteed that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, because we've gotten so little actual actionable information, I find it funny that, like, I feel like too many people are jumping the gun regarding it in its entirety. That being said, time to jump the gun myself. Okay, so, like, I got, like, some theories of, like, what we could just, like, kind of expect from it. So, like, one of the things we can safely assume, I feel like we could safely assume this, I would really like to believe this, when it comes to the main line of games, they continue, they operate chronologically.
Right.
They continue within the timeline. So we can assume that this standalone title will be in the future, unlike when it came to ESO being in the past.
Right.
What I personally, this is one of those things that I'm not expecting, but it wouldn't surprise me, and that's dragons.
Right.
Because after what we had seen regarding Skyrim, even if you decide to mainly focus on that dragon hunter aspect of your life, if that was the decision you decided to make, you're still only killing dragons in Skyrim. Like, at most you leave to Solstein, but as of like, I think it was like 10 years before the events of Skyrim, Solstein got territorized by Skyrim.
Right.
So you're technically just going to an island of Skyrim. So you're still even within Skyrim, even when you leave Skyrim.
And Skyrim's not the only country in Tamriel that has the terrain for housing dragons. There's
Oh yeah, no, I mean like when when it came to the ESO expansion thing, they were all over the place and elsewhere. So, which was a lot of fun. It would not surprise me if they did do dragons, but like it's also one of those things to where like it might just be easier if like they only did like 3 or 4 like bosses, random little bosses to do that with.
Yeah, I don't
instead
need to be,
of like
I don't need to be strolling through the countryside and have to pop a dragon out of the sky.
I do think another thing that we can expect, because it's worked so far, and it would be so weird if they decide to just cut this like aspect, we could expect, I don't know, it doesn't exactly have a word. So like we had Oblivion Gates in Oblivion.
Right.
We had dragons in Skyrim. They're both doing the same thing when you think about it.
Yeah.
We could expect that in Elder Scrolls 6. An event, apocalyptic even, that is like reoccurring in different areas.
Right, yeah.
I feel like that would be something that we could safely assume based off of our previous, the fact that 2 games had that same thing. And then now a personal theory. I think Skyrim is going to be considered to have had a dragon break. And for the sake of the podcast, and I don't know if we've ever had a conversation regarding this in general, for the people that don't know, dragon breaks are pretty much when Akatosh fixes the timeline in a very weird way. So, I think Redguard, the game, at the end of that, there were, I think, 12 or 16 possible endings. And pretty much what they did was they had it to where that entire thing had a dragon break, which they've been using, to where every single one of those endings happened.
Okay.
So, like, even though they would lead to different aspects of time, all of those would branch out and then they re-merge, because that's what Akatosh did.
Okay.
So you would come across people that would remember completely different events, because that's just how it would work.
Right.
I feel like that's something we could actually expect in the Elder Scrolls 6. They will reference probably the Civil War, and you will have people that will reference the Stormcloaks winning, and you will have people that reference the Empire winning. I would not be surprised if that ends up happening.
Yeah, and like, you know, if you look at real history too, you have that anyway, and we don't even have a dragon that merges timelines.
Exactly.
We have people who are like, oh, the South won.
Yep.
Oh, the North won.
Yep.
Oh, the Holocaust didn't happen, or it did. Oh, the Japanese didn't bomb Pearl Harbor. Yes, they fucking did. The planes are still fucking there, you dumb fucks. The Earth is flat. No, it's not.
At the same time.
At the same time that it is. Like,
it's like a bowl.
Yeah. But like we don't even have a dragon break, so I see where you're going with this. But I'm thinking though, when it comes to Elder Scrolls 6, there's some things that I'm hoping that make a return. I'd like to see spell crafting again from Oblivion. Honestly, I want that whole leveling progression back.
If we do a skill tree system thing again, like we pretty much did with both of them, it's an RP, it's the RP element or whatever. Just let me upgrade stabs. Like, if stabs are going to be a part of it, let me make stabs better. Like,
right.
Or let me make it to where when I specifically use them, I'm better at it. Like, why can't this be allowed? Like, what the fuck?
And I don't necessarily need to explore all of Tamriel because we have 2 games that we could do
If
that.
you ask me, just ESO is
Yeah.
going to be the one that does
Yeah,
that.
because like we already did that in Arena.
Yeah.
And we do it in ESO, so I
ESO
don't
is just killing it. It's why I like playing it so much, is because like I just keep remembering I could literally go to places I've always wanted to go to.
Right. But at the same time, though, I could see exploring multiple countries because as technology advances, our game worlds are getting bigger, but the geographical land of whatever country this game is going to take place in is only so big.
The thing of it is like it. Like, how big do we really need to make it when you think about it, too? Like, or how pretty do we need to really make it?
Yeah,
do
that's
we
true too.
do we really need these aspects, or can we like backpedal? Can we make it look a little bit worse? Can we make it a little bit smaller to get different things? Like, oh no, it doesn't like glitch out.
Yeah, you can't walk through a wall with a bowl.
I felt like a superhero. you were like Kitty from X-Men. You just had a bowl on your head.
I liked the crafting from Skyrim, so I'd like to see that come back in some capacity. I like that better than just repairing what you find in Oblivion. I want the spell crafting from Oblivion though, and I'm also wanting and I don't know how you would go about doing it, but mounted combat could be better. Like it's super clunky.
Actually, like more of a thing.
Yeah, like and that wasn't even something they included in Skyrim right off the bat. That was an update later. It wasn't even DLC. It was just a patch. I want to see the return of the Mages Guild and the Fighters Guilds. I missed that in Skyrim. Like I know we had the equivalent, but it wasn't the same.
Well, it made sense on why we got what we got. That being said, there was one caveat that I had about it, and that was the companions.
Yeah.
So like the thing about the companions was the fact that they were a pretty much a Fighters Guild-esque thing, right? That was specifically about what was it? Ysgramor's Landing to Skyrim. Which was how fucking long ago? A very long time ago, right?
Right.
And all they have is a boat?
Yeah.
After all this fucking time, they have a boat. You're telling me, I mean, I'm not expecting, like, them to be every inch of Skyrim, but, like, why aren't they at least at the major cities? Like, let's say, sure, not, like, Morthal or Dawnstar, like the ones that don't have walls, sure, but like anywhere else, like I mean, how are they supposed to save the day in different locations if they are literally in only one location?
Right. And so I'd like to see the return of the guilds. We got the Thieves Guild and Skyrim, and it was so good.
So good. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was really good.
So good. Why is it like that? Like the Thieves Guild and the Dark. See, this is actually why I completely changed like my faction when it came to ESO. Because like when it came to ESO, I was like reading the faction stuff, and I was like reading like, okay, so to be honest, when you read them, it actually makes it seem like the Daggerfall Covenant as the goodest of guys, because they're the ones that are more focused on protecting their people, not so much this war among each other. They're more prioritized, more the civilian aspect.
Right.
That being said, when has being the good guy ever mattered to me? I will save the day Sure. But I will join the Dark Brotherhood. I will join the Thieves Guild. I will join the Mages Guild. I will become evil incarnate, technically. So why the fuck am I concerned about being a good guy? And I didn't realize that about myself until more recently.
Yeah.
So
well,
I chose the one.
You do all these things, but then you don't save Skyrim from Alduin.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. That is true. I didn't even save the day.
You didn't even save the day.
That being said, I think I did beat Mirak once.
Oh, did you?
I think I did beat Mirak once. But it was hard but I think I mainly did that as a petty thing because he kind of trolled me for not killing Alduin. Okay, when you have a set plan and then that plan it's fucking foiled. Okay, so the reason why I got so discouraged from beating the game was because I was really enjoying the Dragon Priest mask stuff and that Labyrinthia or whatever, to where you go to like whatever tomb and then you wear the wooden mask and then it turns that entire room into like really fancy, looks nice and stuff like that, and then you put the mask on the thing, and then once you get all the masks up there, you get this awesome mask that like has tusk and like it like makes it to where like you can't die once or something like that. I don't fucking remember. That was my dream right there. Wear that son of a bitch. But in order to get the last mask, you have to literally fight the Dragon Priest and then immediately go fight Alduin. I wanted to wear the mask that I wanted when I went to go fight Alduin.
Right.
So that just discouraged the shit out of me.
Yeah, I remember that you were showing me one day that you were collecting all those Dragon Priest masks, and you basically had all of them at that point.
Yeah, I had all of them but one, and then that one that I needed was literally on the doorstep to Solstein. Is that what it was called? Is that their Valhalla? I can't remember.
Sovereign Guard.
Sovereign Guard. Yeah. So it was just, you have to kill him and then you just immediately get sucked up because you can't go back because it flies you over to that location.
Right.
So if I was just able to go back. So that made me sad. And then I was like, I guess I'll just go over that way. And then I ended up freaking killing a couple of people. And then I stopped playing for a while. I just got so royally discouraged. I think I will beat it one day, probably when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. Cause I bet you when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, and if I'm playing Skyrim, I would be the only person on the planet playing Skyrim.
Probably.
I feel like I could say that.
Maybe.
Or if I was playing Morrowind, at least. Like.
Oh, so let's see. What's other things that we want to see in Elder Scrolls 6? So I mentioned the mounted combat should be better. It's a first-person game, so I don't know how you make it better. But
like, I mean, it also depends. Like,
I should say better. Clean up the gameplay, make it less clunky somehow, but give us a reason to do it. It was kind of just a gimmick thrown at us. There was no
mounted combat.
Yeah,
I mean that's half the time with mounted combat anyway. When you think about it, half the time there's never really a major purpose to mounted combat.
I know, but like when I think about mounted combat, I think about Twilight Princess, and you're chasing down Ganondorf on the back of the horse,
like a boss thing,
yeah,
kind of thing. Or
I want instances like that.
That would be a preferred thing, because if you ask me. Like, I could live if the game didn't have mounted combat.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But if we're going to do mounted combat, then why not, just make it instance-specific mounted combat.
Right.
That way, it's easier on the freaking developers. It's easier, instead of trying to make it work across the board, they just need to make it work in a small window. I mean, shit, I'd be down for that if it like, works better. I mean, like, things that I want. Did I mention the staff stuff? No, like, they said I want. I'm sorry, like it just bothered me. Like, why? This is supposed to be swords and sorcery level fantasy, and yet it feels like stabs are constantly shortchanged.
Something that I want is if we do another significant time jump, I want there to be more of an advancement in technology to reflect that. I'm not saying go full on top hats and goggles steampunk, but like we should have more machinery other than what the fucking Dwemer left behind.
Well, see, the thing about the Dwemer is like I feel like a lot of their stuff was related to Sothasil. And when I wouldn't be surprised if there's a handful of like theories behind it, but like either way, when it comes to like the Dwemer, okay, I think what I feel needs to be a thing. It's close to what you're saying, but like I don't think it necessarily needs to be advancements in technology specifically, but I think the advancements in colonizing needs to have advanced. Civilizations need to have advanced. And what I mean by that specifically is, again, Whiterun, Dawnstar, Solitude, all these places have been around for hundreds of thousands of years. No, not that long, but like thousands of years. They've been around for eras, right? Hundreds of years at least, right? And yet they don't look like they don't look drastically like any sort of improvement has been made on their the civilizations. They don't look like they're thriving in any kind of sense. They don't like, I mean, what, when it came to Whiterun, like you had like 3 farms, like 5 houses in one area, and then like 2 houses in another area. Like, I mean, I think bigger towns is the way to go to do that. Because like I don't think you necessarily need like us to have like, or them to have figured out like all the intricacies when it comes to like the Dwemer stuff or like just technology in general, because like the Dwemers were the real ones that were really fucking with that shit, and then the only ones that really interact with that are adventurers, and they usually die from it.
Right.
So like, yeah, I do also feel like there are a lot of like apocalyptic scenarios that keep happening when you think about it.
Yeah, that's true too.
So like I mean, like, that being said,
Tamriel gets a great reset every 200 or 300 years.
Being said, oh my god, there is a story, oh my god, that I freaking love regarding the Oblivion Crisis. And when it happened in Blackmarsh.
It just didn't happen in Blackmarsh?
Because like they have this like elite guard that just went so ham on the gates that the Daedra got so scared they had to close their gates.
Yeah.
So like that is just so freaking cool. I love the Argonian lore.
that was another good episode of Lore Party. Mm-hmm. They talk about the Black Marsh and all the intricacies of that, and how it's always under attack, but it's never fully taken over because all the Argonians have this like telepathy thing, and anytime that like Black Marsh is under attack, then like everybody goes home, and you see some of that in Oblivion. I feel like there's a few Argonians that you talk to where they talk about going home to help because of the Oblivion Crisis.
Yet what still like blows my mind. How is it that these fuckers keep ending up as slaves?
It's in that episode of Lore Party, the borders of the Black Marsh are constantly under attack. Mm-hmm. They get occupied liberated all the time.
Yeah.
But nobody's made it to the center of Black Marsh to fully conquer the place.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is you'll have Morrowind, they're really bad about it, going down to Black Marsh, attacking them all the fucking time.
Because
they'll capture a few, they'll take over little bits and pieces here and there, but then the Argonians are like, oh, fuck you, you're fucking out.
Yeah.
And they probably could have kicked Morrowind out for good, but then they decided to overextend. They started going and attacking and occupying Morrowind.
Yeah. It's like, because like Telvanni, the wizards of Morrowind, they believe in slavery, and they absolutely refuse to forego their right to have slaves, and they specifically, consistently have Argonian slaves. And then when it came to Skyrim, like a good majority of the Nords just treated like freaking Argonians as an outside animal. They didn't even allow like Argonians in the city of like, what was it, Windhelm?
Yeah, there was a whole district dedicated to Dark Elves.
Dark Elves. And then Argonians weren't even allowed inside. It was absolute. It's like, how is it that like these guys got top tier levels of like just combat skills, and yet consistently are the ones that are slaves? Because like unless if Black Marsh has slaves, I don't know if Black Marsh has slaves.
I don't think so.
It's like it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't,
But
because they didn't really seem like the type of people that would.
It's geographical location is also really inconvenient for them because they're getting attacked from the north by Morrowind. They're getting attacked from the west by Cyrodiil.
Yeah,
like
they're
also getting attacked by the south from the south by whoever's in the fucking south. Of them.
And but their territory is also the main thing that keeps them going, is because of the fact they're so good with their own territory, and none of the other regions are good with dealing with that new territory.
It gets to a point with invading forces into Morrowind or into Black Marsh where the terrain and the diseases and the Argonians fucking are incredibly adept at guerrilla warfare, that's got to be
more of it.
It's a fucking swamp. Argonians can breathe underwater.
Yeah,
they're immune
checkmate.
They're immune to disease.
Yeah,
that's why they haven't been fully conquered yet.
Yeah, you're not going to take it over. It's not going to happen.
The swamp is too thick for an invading force. They're getting guerrilla warfare plus all the disease in the forest that the Argonians are immune to, but everybody else isn't.
And then not only that, they send anyone born under the shadow to fucking the Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah.
They fucking they just like specifically they're absolute savages. Like they're freaking awesome.
You know what? I want Elder Scrolls 6 to be Black Marsh.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Now that we're talking,
I can play it regardless.
To pull this back to what our topic of this segment was, what things we want in Elder Scrolls 6. I want it to be Black Marsh.
That would be. Well, okay, so
I take back what I said about the technology.
This actually might be a way to figure out what the next one could be. So we had Oblivion. It took place in Cyrodiil. We had the Oblivion Crisis. Then what was the next place that we dealt with was after Oblivion? We had Skyrim, which was more Nord related, and then we dealt with dragons. So when it comes to the Imperials, a lot of the time, like a lot of things were mentioned about like, you know, the Empire, how it was like, you know, Imperial base, how it's Nord base, all that was it melded together because of Tiber Septim and stuff like that, right? And how Tiber Septim was once Talos of Admora and all that fun stuff. So it kind of made sense when you look at it as like, from the events of Oblivion, the location of Oblivion, to the events of Skyrim. A little
bit.
So, like, what sort of significant things happened in Skyrim that might give us like some insight into where the next location could be. So the big thing is dragons.
Right.
So that is definitely one thing to take in consideration.
There's also the Thalmor.
That might be the.
Will we start fucking with the high elves?
I mean, shit. When it came to, when it comes to Somerset Isle, is that what it's called? When it comes to the high elves in general, I mean, most of their stuff was like exclusive. You needed to be this tall to ride this ride, you know, like fucking. So it didn't. To be honest, I mean, I don't really necessarily know of so much. Ooh, this actually, this might have some more. This might have like, okay, so like dragons. I didn't really know of it being so much related to dragons, but I do know that Nords really hate high elves. I mean, they hate elves in general, but like the high elves are like on like a higher level of their shit list, right?
Right.
So like maybe dealing with the elves might be the next direction we go.
All right, so is that going to be our official prediction? Somerset Isles is going to be the next central location.
I don't know if I can necessarily say the high elf location, but because of how the high elf.
I could also see like it being a part of it. I'm not familiar with the map of Tamriel, so what is adjacent to the Somerset Isles? I don't have like the geography of Tamriel memorized.
Valenwood? Fuck it. We got
phones.
We got phones.
Look it up. Because like what I could see happening is that rather than focusing on one specific country, they could do the Somerset Isles and adjacent.
Okay. So, called it. All right.
Nice.
I am so smart. Okay, so we got the Somerset Isles, which is like the two little islands right there, right?
Okay.
And then right next to it is Valenwood. So for all like the people that are watching, so like there you go. Even though you can Google it yourself, grow up. So like, this actually makes me need to fucking play ESO even more to get like a general, because like when you go to Skyrim, the locations, I mean, they're obviously scaled for MMO scaling.
Right.
So like they look considerably different, but they look similar enough to where you can relate to all the stuff. So yeah, it would be a good, because like there's the Somerset Isle expansion. I think you can go to Valenwood. You might not be able to go to. No, yeah, I think you can go to Valenwood. Actually, I think most of your starting stuff from the Altmerry Dominion side is in Valenwood. So that is something to check out. But yeah, no, I'm thinking it would not be too surprising to make it more elf related because of the events of Skyrim.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I think that's a fun prediction.
That's as good. That's as good a prediction as any. I mean, we could be totally off base.
I mean, all I'm doing is just like, okay, so if here are two lines, and if this line leads to this line, and then I know that there's a dot somewhere over here, so like, I would just toss out a line and see if I hit a dot, like.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a pretty good discussion. You got any final thoughts on this, on anything Elder Scrolls in general?
I already wish it was Black Marsh. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I wish it was Black Marsh too.
That being said, I think you can go to Black Marsh in ESO. So like, again,
okay.
More of a reason to I need
to download ESO again.
Because like I've just been getting into because like the thing about Elder Scrolls is like I've always been down with the lore.
Right.
Like the lore immediately captured me. Like it did not take long for me to just be like smitten with every single thing that like happens. Which is sometimes not always the case, but sometimes the case. So like I think that's why I like ESO so much even though I barely play it, I barely have a character that's made it anywhere in the game, but I've just made a new character. Um, like I said, I gave up my notion of playing a good guy because I'm not. So I chose the Ebonheart pack because it has the coolest logo and the coolest name.
Right.
I'm just being honest. Like, people have opinions, I guess, but like
they're like assholes.
It's a dragon. You're choosing a dragon over a bird, maybe, or a lion. This is a dragon, and then the Ebonheart pack just sounds freaking cool.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I chose it. That, and like, I do enjoy a good chunk of the races that are part of it. The only ones that I could care less for are the Nords.
Right.
Because, like, I mean, just but no, like, I think I've just started playing it just for like the sake of like just learning more about the stuff instead of trying to treat it like an MMO. Just treat it like a way to learn more about the world.
Right.
Because there's a lot of interesting things, like so when it comes to like the group of people that you hang out with, I don't remember what they called themselves or whatever. One of the guys, he's a wizard dude. I don't remember his name, but oh yeah, but he his last name, I'm gonna just look it up. Looking things up is just makes more sense. I don't know why I'm pretending like I know what the fuck I'm talking about when I don't. I think it's like Tharn, something crazy like that. Yeah. Is that him? Is that him? Yeah. Wait.
For those of you watching the video version of this podcast, the reason I got up is because I figured my camera battery was getting low and I had to plug it in. So I was telling Carl to just keep going.
Yeah, so like Abnor Thon, I think that's his name. So like, he was just a wizard dude. I didn't really think too much of him, but I later found out, I think it was Elder Scrolls 2. Don't remember. A evil wizard ends up like kind of he puts the emperor, one of the earlier Uriel septums, into like a sleep like state, and then he pretends to be the emperor, and his last name was Tharn, and then you find out that this was his ancestor.
Oh, are you talking about Jagger Tharn?
Something along those lines.
Something like that.
I just thought it was cool that they made when they were messing with it, they made the ancestor to one of the main bad guys of one of the games that I never played. Like it's just these little details. But yeah, no, like, I mean, I think it being even more elf related is like probably the direction that we're going. I mean, that being said, a lot of people were saying like, what was it, High Rock or Hammerfell and stuff like that. Like, I mean, well, I mean, that's not fully okay. So when it came to the Outmare Dominion taking over, like, you know, everything and whatnot, there's a couple of places that they haven't been able to like claim. I think Black Marsh is one, and Hammerfell's the other, because they were having issues with the desert. So like, it's kind of a thing, but like, see, like, the problem is like, it feels like what it feels like is happening. It feels like there's a secret overall story that is being told throughout all of these games, that because like each game just feels like its own standalone thing.
Right.
But it feels like, the more I'm thinking about it, it feels like there's like the secret story that if you piece it together properly, you will come to the realization that there is a direct line of a story being told. I feel like I'm just missing it.
All right, then. Well, we could continue this discussion, but I want to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I want to thank you first of all for taking time out of your evening to come be on the show. You're the very first special guest.
Oh yeah, that's I will always be the very first. Right.
And
that isn't his daughter.
well, she's the regular co-host.
Well, specifically. Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm the guest. Okay.
Yeah, you're a guest.
I get you. I'm learning. I don't know what I'm learning.
So, but yeah, I appreciate you coming, especially since you just like worked all day at Walmart dealing with people.
Yeah.
People.
Like,
giving them their food.
You think
giving them their Walmart deli sandwiches or whatever it is that you do.
What I do is
nothing. Okay, so do you have socials you want to plug?
Just the TikTok.
Just the TikTok.
Just the TikTok.
Which is at Isekarl.
Isekarl.
Which is a play on words.
Yes.
Do you want to explain that real quick?
Yeah, it's just a fun little thing. So, like, when it comes to anime in general, you have, technically, I didn't even do it right, but it's fine. It's fine. But, like, so, like, when it comes to anime, they're the one that kind of coined the term. I mean, a lot of fiction does it, but anime was the one that gave it a genre title, which is isekai. I think sekai literally means another world.
Okay.
So like, yeah, so it's just like a cool like play on that. My name is Carl, in case people thought it was something else, and then I just did the Isa in front of it, right? And yeah, I just do so much regarding all the things that I like. It's like we just talked about freaking Elder Scrolls. I keep mentioning I will talk about Pokemon if you ever. I'm gonna be buying the new Pokemon. Actually, my content's gonna probably start having stuff relating to the new Pokemon.
Right,
I'll guarantee it.
Well, I definitely want you back on the show, and we'll definitely talk Pokemon sometime. But I want my first Pokemon episode to be with Xavier because of the generational gap and whatnot.
Yeah. Actually, like, is it? That's not even. Wait, hold on. Has the Gen Z? I'm not good with generations, but has the Gen Z ended? Right?
I don't know, man. I just mean like
because like my girlfriend's. I shouldn't say this, but like because like it sounds weird now that I say it, but like my girlfriend's Gen Z and I'm millennial.
Right, but we're on the tail ends of being millennial.
Yeah, and she was like 1 year. Like it was the 1 year difference. But like the one thing I know about it is that like it like what they've used as like reference was 9/11.
Oh, okay.
So like if 9/11 was something that you don't really reckon with, that means that you were another generation. Like it was like a big part for like, I mean like it was a moment, right? So
what I mean by generational gap is father-daughter.
Yeah, that's still fair. I just don't know much.
But we do plan on like our first Pokemon episode. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be talking about like Pokemon as a whole, like an umbrella. Mm-hmm. How we feel about it, like how
the greatest fiction.
Yeah, but how she got into it versus how I got into it. Mm-hmm. You know, different age perspectives and whatnot. Yeah. And then after that, we'll probably like hone in on specific things about Pokemon. I definitely want to have you back when I'm ready to do a Final Fantasy episode.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So Isekarl on TikTok. You can find the podcast on Facebook at Table to TV. You can email us at tabletotvpod@gmail.com. You could follow, if you like to watch us record these episodes, we record these episodes live and then I edit them later. Follow at Justin Pollitt on Twitch. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, it's at Axum6900. I just repurposed my personal Twitter for the show, and I think that's all of it. That's the end of the episode. We will see you in this 2 weeks. Our episodes air every 2 weeks.
How you do it?
Yeah. Oh, well,
I'm a good friend. I have no idea.
Yeah, Carl. Okay, so for Carl's sake, I'll explain it real quick.
Yeah.
The new episodes are every other Saturday.
Okay.
The audio version happens first, and then on the off weeks, I'll upload the video version to YouTube.
Okay.
So the people who are taking the time out to listen to the actual audio podcast, they get it first.
Okay.
YouTube gets it second.
I get you.
So basically, like I got content coming out every week, but I don't.
I see how you're doing it. That's
and then we do the video versions. That way, if I could ever get myself to sit down and do it, clip them for TikTok and such.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about the TikTok. Table to TV at Table to TV on TikTok. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks again, Carl.
Yeah, this was fun.